Hi everyone, it's Holly and welcome to my November wrap-up. It is really bright outside. There's snow on the ground, so it's just like the sun is crazy. I'm filming this a couple of days early. It's actually Thanksgiving today, but I don't know if I'm going to read anything else, and my internet is kind of wonky right now, so my only option to upload this might be tomorrow, so I need to get it filmed and uploaded. So I actually had like a slower reading month, sort of. I ended up reading 8 full-length books and 1 novella, which is definitely a step down for me, but I realized, and I did post a video about this, I started reading After on Wattpad, and I was reading that for about a week and a half. Like I have for the last couple months, I'll break this up into genre, so I have young adult, new adult, and romance. So first, let's do young adult. So I have 3 young adult books. Woohoo! So, the first one is These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. Sorry. I did get this out of the library, because I just wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but I gave this, what did I give this? 3 stars? Yeah, I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was it's super shiny because the library covering. I enjoyed it, but I found it a little slow and a little bland. I thought Lilac as a character was a little annoying, but it surprised me. It was more than I thought it was going to be, and I do plan on continuing the series, but I'm not 100% sure if I'll just continue to get them from the library or if I'll start buying them. Then I read Angel Fall by Susan E., and I had been putting this off because I've said this before, bad angels make me really uncomfortable. Yeah, this got 3 stars for me as well. I thought it was good. I'm trying to remember. I found some of the writing to be a little repetitive, and Penryn, the main character, she makes a lot of stupid decisions. Like, I don't know, she gets herself into a lot of the problems that she's in. And then I just have some world building questions and concerns, but I do own World After. I don't feel like this overwhelming urge to pick it up, and I am kind of curious to see where it goes. I'm kind of hopeful that this was a lot of like groundwork for the rest of the series and that it'll just get better as it goes on. And then I feel like there's a romance in here, but I don't get it. Speaking of romances that I don't get, the last young adult book I read this month was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is another library book, and this one got 3 stars from me too, I think. Yes, 3 stars. Initially when I was reading, so this book is, and I've heard this about the whole series, it's written in a very slow way. Laini Taylor's writing is definitely very beautiful, and it's very descriptive. Like, it's very easy to picture, like the main character, she lives with all these different chimera, and it's very easy for me to picture those in my head. There's some fight scenes, and those are very easy for me to picture. And that's hard to write. But the writing is definitely not fast-paced. Like, you're not going to pick this book up and just blow right through it, in my opinion. And then, like I said, I just don't get the romance in here at all. Like, I don't understand why they even would be attracted to each other, let alone love each other, and I'm supposed to care about them a lot. Okay, so the 2 new adult books I read were both ebooks. Both one's a book, one's a novella. First, Everything Between Us by Mila Ferreira. And I talked about both of these books in my book haul, so I'll be really quick. But if you want to know what this book is about, just check it out on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. I wasn't 100% sure if I would like it or not, but it's told in dual POV from a guy named Daniel and a girl named Stella, and I enjoyed both of their POVs, which doesn't happen that often, and I'm so glad we got both of them. I really liked Stella. She struggles with a lot of anxiety and panic attacks, and I really enjoy reading books like that. As somebody who has some anxiety, like nothing near like what she has, but anxiety, it's kind of reassuring for me to read stories from a character with that perspective. And I thought that the author did a good job of navigating, like, basically, I mean, anxiety is kind of like a mental illness, so navigating her mental illness and romance and how those things affect each other and intertwine. And I do recommend it, but read the synopsis before you buy it, because I feel like some people wouldn't like some of the things in that book. The other one I read, which is the novella, is Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover, and this was Warren's story from Maybe Someday. I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I really liked Warren. He was one of my favorite characters in Maybe Someday. I really liked the relationship that he had with Sydney in that book, and I kind of wish we got more of that in the novella, but I understand why we didn't. You get to know Bridget more, who she's another roommate in Maybe Someday. And I'm glad we got that. Like, you get more insight into who she is and kind of why she acts the way she does. But I kind of wish this was told in dual POV so that I could get into her head more, because I'm still confused about some things. Although I do kind of want to reread Maybe Someday now and see if this changes the way I view both of those characters and what's going on, because they do overlap. Like, Maybe Not does not take place after Maybe Someday. It takes place before and during Maybe Someday. I did have a couple problems. Well, I had one major problem. The first time that Bridget and Warren have sex, he does something that in my mind was inappropriate. And I don't know, like, I understand why he did what he did, and I do think he was coming at it from a good place, but it still made me uncomfortable to read about. I don't know, I don't want to get, like, too much into it, but if you want to, I mean, it's not, like, that big of a deal, but if you want to know, let me know, or if you felt that way, then, and I'll talk more about it or something. But, yes, so those were the 2 new adult novels. And then I read 4 romance novels, yes. So first, I finished the Lost Lords of Pembroke series, so I read Lord of Temptation and Lord of Wicked Intentions, and I did do a series review on, the trilogy. Lord of Temptation got 4 stars, and Lord of Wicked Intentions got 3. I won't talk much about them since I did that review, but I did like this series as a whole. I like all the brothers. I like all the female characters too, which I've said before is kind of a struggle sometimes in romance. Sometimes they can be a little blah. But this is my first series I've completed by Lorraine Heath, and I'm pleased and do plan on continuing to read. I only have 1 book left by her, so I do plan on stocking up, and I just have to make a decision on what it is I'm gonna buy. And then I read A Lady Awakened by Cecilia Grant, and this was a purchase because I was listening to old episodes of the DBSA podcast when they were talking about this. And it's about a woman, and her husband dies, but because she's young, before her husband's, like, brother, I think it is, can inherit, they're going to wait to see if she's pregnant, because if she is and she has a son, then obviously he would inherit instead. She knows she's not pregnant, but her husband's brother is, like, a complete jackass. Like, when he did live at the estate, when he did live there, he, like, raped 2 maids, and just, so she decides to ask somebody who just came to town, another gentleman, to sleep with her for a month and try and get her pregnant so that she can be pregnant and potentially have her son inherit the estate. And it's just about them getting it on every day, but it doesn't feel like too much, the way she writes it, and it's just about them they start talking and building a connection, and she teaches him things and he teaches her things, and, like, the sex is, like, super secondary to their true relationship. And it's definitely an interesting and different romance novel. I gave it 3 stars, but it just wasn't exactly for me. I found Martha, the woman in the story, a little boring for me, but I really liked Theo, the guy, and I found the ending a little abrupt, which bothered me. I will say this book reads kind of like a classic. The way it's told feels, if you've ever read a classic like a Jane Austen, I feel like there's a separation between you and the characters, whereas like traditional romances, I literally, and it's not POV, like what first person versus third person, because most of the romances I read are in third person, so is this, but I feel a more immediacy with characters in most romances. But when I read a Jane Austen, I feel a lot of times like I'm watching their story instead of living their story, and I felt that way about this. That's not necessarily a bad thing, that's just a writing choice, it's just not my preferred storytelling method. And the last one I read, and it's the last book I've read this month, is Never Judge a Lady by Her Cover by Sarah McLean. I always keep forgetting to say the last part. This is the fourth book in her Rule of Scoundrels series, and I said this in my book haul, I'll say it again. This wrap-up-y portion of this book is going to be a spoiler for the series, so because I can't talk about it without spoiling parts of the series. So if you have not read the series and you want to read the series and don't want to be spoiled, then stop watching. So the series follows 4 owners in a gambling club, and each book follows their love story. And in the third book, at the end, we find out that the 4th owner is not a guy, but is a girl. And so this is her this is her story. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't think it disappointed at all. I was super excited to read it. I went and got it on release day and everything, and it's really interesting because she is a woman in like regular life, but then she also pretends to be a prostitute at the gambling club, and then she's also this male this mysterious male figure, and so she's playing all these different roles, and it was interesting to see where she goes in her head and how each of those are kind of a part of who she really is and how she comes to terms with the fact that she is a powerful person and being a woman doesn't change that. I did really like the romance. It was a little frustrating at times because you just want to be like, dude, don't you realize who she is? But overall, I liked them. They're both strong, intelligent characters, and neither of them ever really backed down from that. Like, neither of them lost their strength by being together, which is great. And I thought it was a fantastic conclusion to the series. If you'd read the other books, the other characters showed up quite a lot in here, and it was kind of nice to see all the guys being able to interact with her where we actually are in on the secret. And so that is it for my November wrap-up, and hopefully next month's wrap-up will be a little bit bigger. So if you want to talk about books that you read this month, or you want to talk about any of these, or you have questions, anything like that, feel free to let me know down in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!